live streaming from a distant galaxy on January 4th, 2024. This is the world's most controversial podcast, the Doomsy McDoomscroller Show, a philosophical science fiction series featuring realistic futurology and refreshingly heretical commentary on the news. And the news today, is it today? Yeah, it is today. January 4th, this article. Let's have a look. See, this is from ABC News. On go.com. The headline is Taliban arrest women for bad hijab. And first crackdown since return to power. We don't really need much more of this article than the headline, do we? Here's another article. You're going to notice a theme here. This is on MSNBC, as it was all over the place. Awaiting grand jury decision on if Ohio woman who miscarried should face charges. That's more of a chyron than a headline. You can see at the bottom of the screenshot. Ohio woman criminally charged after a miscarriage. A grand jury in Ohio is weighing whether to indict a woman who had a miscarriage. And then let's look at this third one here. This also from ABC News. A court has ruled Texas doctors don't need to perform emergency abortions. Here's what that means. Well, do we need the rest of the article? I think we know what that means. It means fear pregnancy. If you can't leave Texas to save your life in an emergency. So those three articles. So here's the refreshingly heretical commentary on the news. Okay, this Taliban, Afghanistan, grand jury or prosecutor in Ohio, court in Texas. No, pretty much the same. Same misogynist. And let's really drill down to the source of this misogyny. Because I can show you that it's your culture doing this. It's easy to show that your culture is the culture of maximum misogyny. Now, of course, by your culture, I'm talking the 8 billion of you. 8 billion. Civilized culture, civilized, capital C. Right? The culture that's been going on for 10,000 and maybe 12,000 years, depending on how you want to stretch it. You know, going back to the Fertile Crescent there. Civilization with a capital C. The agricultural revolution. You farmers / warmongers. Your culture is a culture of maximum misogyny. Your culture. All 8 billion of it. East and West. And if we drill down, that's ultimately what we get to. That's the core layer of the onion of misogynistic history, I guess, or the history of misogynists. Because you got to go deeper than Abrahamic religions. You just do. Okay, Doomsy, you're being... How can you call your show the world's most controversial podcast? You know, it's not very controversial to say that the ultimate role model for like a billion of you, the ultimate role model for like a billion of you civilized people, raped a child. Child rape is a big thumbs up in civilized culture. 9-year-old kid. Hey, Muhammad did it. So that means the rest of you can too, huh? That's the logic. Or I should say, that's the misogyny. And it's also misogyny. Let's see. That's one of the more recent plagiarized Abrahamic religions. The other big plagiarized Abrahamic religion, Christianity, same misogyny. They aren't as explicit about it. Not quite as explicit, but you know, there's no family values in that religion. Dude's walking around, Yeshua, Jesus, Jesus, whatever you want to call him. The character in those dozens of books, 4 of which seem pretty popular. And in the 4, I think it's Luke. Dude is telling guys to leave their wife, leave their daughters, and come hang out with his groupies, his all-male groupie club, walking around with him. That's in there. The guy tells men to leave their wife. I said men, so I should be using the plural wives, right? Tells men to leave their wives and daughters and sons. Leave their family. You go walk around with that guy. It's hard to get. I mean, that's unethical. It's not right. That's sick and twisted. Let's use the religious zealots word, but the wickedness, since going too far. That's a special word that the Abrahamic religionists can reserve for themselves. I'll use wickedness. I'll just it's wicked. Islam, Christianity, the plagiarized Abrahamic religions. And they're plagiarized Abrahamic religions, you know, they aren't any better or any worse than the original Abrahamic religion. If if you're going by the extremists, which you really have to do, because the extremists, they always have the texts on their side of the argument. Yeah, they always have that. And so, it's guilt by association, really. If you're liberal Muslim or liberal Christian or, you kind of condone all the other beliefs because your religious identification implicitly asserts that there's magically perfect books. Magically perfect books. So you're all directly responsible for that stuff, for the things that are done in the name of your prophets, in the name of your religions. But let's go beyond that. Well, in a second. Let's get to the original Abrahamic religion, now that we've talked about the plagiarized Abrahamic religions. And then after that, after the original Abrahamic religion, we'll go even farther. We'll go even deeper dive into civilized culture, and we'll really show you where this misogyny is sourced from and why you can't get away from it. There's no fixing it. Not within civilized culture, there's not. Okay, so we looked at the plagiarized Abrahamic religions. Okay, how about let's go to the original. And here's just, the misogyny is just, it's off the charts throughout these ancient books. Here's just one verse. All right, here we go. You ready for this? Yeah, I'll just tell you what it says. Okay, and then we'll read it. Okay, this is Deuteronomy, Hebrew Bible. So we're going original. This is original Abrahamic religion. And it says, it instructs fathers. It instructs fathers to sell their daughters to rapists. That's what it says. Deuteronomy, chapter 22, verses 28 to 29. If a man happens to meet a virgin who is not pledged to be married and rapes her, and they are discovered, I'm going to add that she survives. All right? Because she could die in such an attack. That's not in the verse here, but if a man happens to meet a virgin who is not pledged to be married and rapes her, and they are discovered, he shall pay her father 50 shekels of silver. He must marry the young woman, for he has violated her. He can never divorce her as long as he lives. So that's a life sentence for her. That's the original Abrahamic religion there. But that's not the... It goes deeper than that. Your culture's misogyny. And here's why. Let's have another look at these headlines. Taliban arrests women for bad hijab in first crackdown since return to power. By the way, that thing in, I think 2 Corinthians? I think in Corinthians about head coverings. No, if you try to Google that, you'll get a bajillion hits and almost as many explanations. Nobody knows what it means. Not really. Most people don't. for the Taliban, for a lot of Muslim men, it means, you're justified in raping women that aren't dressed, that aren't fully covered. And Christianity, they carry out their oppression in other ways. Ohio woman criminally charged after a miscarriage. This is very key here, okay? And then a court has ruled Texas doctors don't need to perform emergency abortions. Okay, here's what that means. Okay, so your culture is the culture of maximum misogyny. Now you can be like, oh, Doomsy, I'm an atheist, or I'm a liberal. Look, we've already established you don't, you're still culpable if you're a liberal subscriber to an Abrahamic religion, a plagiarized one or the original. And you're culpable, no matter what your flavor or degree of zealotry in that ideology. You are culpable for that, those specific expressions and traditions and manifestations of misogyny. You are culpable. Now, I also got to point out that even atheists, you guys are culpable in some way, in some manner. You got to be, because the culture does not exist without people living it. You people are what make the culture exist. Cultures are man-made. And culture is not what people have, culture is what people do. And we just saw 3 articles. This is what your culture does. This is happening in civilized culture. Now you can say, oh, Doomsy, that's not civilized. It's... Yeah, no, they're civilized. That's civilized. You know when you're among civilized people. If you're dropped randomly anywhere on the planet in a society, you know it's a civilized society if all the food is owned, if all the land is under ownership, and all the food is owned, and you gotta work to get food. You gotta build a pyramid. You gotta do something that supports a pharaoh, a neo-pharaoh, in order to eat. You're among civilized people. There's 8 billion of you, east and west. So these stories, these 3 articles we're talking about, they are things happening to civilized people. And there are things being done by civilized people. Okay, now here's why you got to go back farther than Abraham religion, because Abrahamic religions are those religions that refer to Abraham in the Hebrew Bible, the God of Abraham. I think it used to be Abram, one way or the other. First he was Abraham, then Abram. I think first he was Abram and then Abraham. No, I forget. He had a name change once he went really psycho and started chopping off the end of people's penises. And he started trying to murder his sons because of voices he was hearing. that character. Yeah, that character. Abrahamic religions, they're named after a psycho. Misogynistic psycho. Who's totally fine with killing children. So, that's your family values. Is that why Christians call it the good book? The good book? Jeez, give me a break. So these are happening in civilized culture. So we can go back, much farther than the development of Abrahamic religions. Abrahamic religions, developed as an explanation. Let's get this out of the way, okay? Abrahamic religions developed as an explanation for how shitty civilized culture is for people. It's an explanation for why things suck in civilized culture. That's what they try to provide. And, they offer various remedies, this and that. But that's how they came about. So we can go much farther back than Abrahamic religions, even though Abrahamic religions, the original Abrahamic religion, it kind of has, kind of in a way chronicles the beginnings of civilized culture. Those stories weren't told until at least a few thousand years after your culture began. Well, they certainly weren't written down until thousands of years after your culture began. Then those stories got written down. So, civilized culture is older than Abrahamic religions, even though the original Abrahamic religion has a story, the in the beginning story. It's not the history of the universe, not the history of Earth. It's not the history of humanity, not even close. But it is kind of there's something to it historically with regards to your culture. Civilized culture is all about the subjugation of Earth. And that requires the subjugation of women. Yeah. That's why it doesn't matter if you're in Afghanistan, Texas, or Ohio, or some neighborhood in the UK, or if you're in Russia, or you can be anywhere the food is locked up. Misogyny. It's a wonder that it's amazing that in some places abortion is legal. The women can have their lives saved. They're able to end a pregnancy without dying, or without giving birth to a rapist child, or simply to any child they don't want. I know, I figure there's not any religious zealots of the Abrahamic variety listening. But I don't know, maybe this can offend even someone outside of that. But Doomsy is just going to point out a truth, a fact. There has never been, and there never will be, any such thing as a divine message. And there never will be. Because of that, there never will be a divine messenger. Also, let me just explicitly say, nobody is ever a vessel. Ever. Nobody is ever a vessel. And the actual creator of every human being is a woman. Now, it's amazing to me that that might be blasphemy for some. But there it is. And look, misogyny is so pervasive in your societies, even for those trying to be all modern. You have to go back to the beginnings of farming. This is how you farmers believe. The worst thing that ever happened in North America was farmers getting to there. European farmers. The worst thing that ever could have happened to North America. So, of course, the worst thing that ever could have happened to Earth, worst thing that could have ever happened to people and every single living creature, worst thing that could have ever happened, farming. Holy war agriculture. Civilized culture. I think I talked about this yesterday. The word subdue. The word subdue is translated from ancient Hebrew there in Genesis. But perhaps, anyone can make any biblical scholar can make a reasonable argument that a better translation for that ancient Hebrew is rape. And certainly, if you look across, the evidence is overwhelming now, right? In 21st century, look around the planet, punching huge holes in the crust that bleeds all over coastline, filling up the oceans with plastic. The humans aren't doing this. I mean, to be accurate, civilized humans are doing it. Civilized people of your culture, you're doing that. You're raping the planet. It says, subdue the earth, have dominion. Now, this story was originally told by murder victims. They were trying to explain the sociopaths that were wiping them out. But it's an apt description. They took a look at you just like Native Americans looked at the farmers, European farmers. How would the Native Americans explain to their children what the European farmers were doing to them? They might have a story. Read that story in Genesis. I'll let you just do that. All right? Read that. And read it from the perspective of, okay, imagine being a human who has lived in a way that humans had lived for hundreds of thousands of years. And you've lived that way. You're living that way. Obviously, sustainable. And we're talking Native American, right? So you're living sustainably. You're living in an egalitarian society. And now you have farmers. You have these people. Let's not call them farmers. That's not accurate. The word farmer, that's a cover-up. Let's say, not farmers, holy war agriculturalists. Because farming is a very specific kind of agriculture. It's holy war agriculture. The agricultural revolution had nothing to do with knowledge, had nothing to do with technology. Far and away and long before the agricultural revolution, quote unquote, people knew what seeds were doing. They knew how to regrow food. They knew how to kind of follow animals around, make it so they're not so skittish, easier to hunt. People figured that out long before agricultural revolution. We got the evidence for that. So that's just a bogus word, the agricultural revolution. Well, agriculture, that was a specific kind of agriculture in that revolution. It's the holy war variety, which makes sense because you got the word revolution there. So, holy war, let's not be surprised, right? Just look at what it's done to their humans around walking the planet, people for millions of years, a couple million years. Modern humans, anatomically modern human beings, Homo sapiens, 300,000 years. And 10,000 years ago, civilized culture started. And basically, in a geological overnight, you're in dire straits environmentally. Environmental catastrophes left and right. You're choking and dying in your own filth, in your own destruction, in the pollution of your culture's destruction of the planet. The subjugation of Earth is what civilized culture is all about. And the subjugation of women is what the subjugation of Earth is all about. I don't want to say that. Subjugation of women is just something that planet conquerors find necessary. The source of all, the ultimate source of all toxic masculinity in your societies is religion. It is. It gets particularly potent when you're talking about like Abrahamic religions, plagiarized or otherwise. It's really potent. Yeah, but even if you're not into scapegoating, that's another huge unethical thing about the biggest religion in civilized culture, It's the biggest plagiarized Abrahamic religion, Christianity. It's based on a scapegoating scheme. Scapegoating. That's the whole premise of Christianity. So why would you think that there's going to be? Why would you think that there's any kind of moral superiority? In civilized religions? That doesn't make any sense. Civilized culture is, you think of yourselves as punished planet conquerors. And you think that you need these pharaohs, these neo-pharaohs, in order to justify your delusions of grandeur. Really, and that's putting it mildly, delusion of grandeur, but delusion of godhood. Let's go back to the most famous story of all civilized people, right? Genesis there, the Abrahamic religion, the original. You made the gods in your image. Or you claim that, you were made in Yahweh's image, in the God's image. Either way, same thing. So, delusion of grandeur, delusion of godhood. You view yourself as punished planet conquerors. Subjugation of the earth. That's what civilized culture is all about. And that ain't so easy. In fact, it's impossible. You can't control, you can't really own a planet. Every earthling is of the earth. I know you civilized folks think that earth is yours. So you say, our planet. Save our planet. Save our forests. Save our oceans. You think you own it. But you don't. And trying to conquer, that's a tall order. Real tall order. Well, maybe you civilized folk. It seems that civilization. Okay, well, subjugation of earth is hard. While we're doing that, subjugation of women. In fact, that's really kind of a requirement. The subjugation of earth requires the subjugation of women. So, you may be trying to fix this, or, we got to fight for rights. We got to vote, this and that. Look, it's unfixable. You can't, there's no fixing civilized culture. It is effed up at the core. At the core. Y'all think that you're punished planet conquerors. That's not gonna last. The next few generations coming along, they're either going to be the last humans, or they're going to be the first uncivilized humans. All right, so before I get out of here, I need to get in orbit of this planet and figure out where I am, what I'm doing. See if I can get any length of distance closer to Earth. But before I do that, let me tell you, this is coming from Doomsy, and there ain't no such thing as prophecy. probabilities. That's a thing. Statistics and probability. Prophecies, no. Nope. So yeah, I prefer not to prognosticate in a lot of situations, but hey, I want to tell you this as just a matter of fact. What is and what isn't doomed? Well, I don't know. This is Doomsy talking here. I don't know that humanity is doomed. I don't even suspect it is. I don't even think that it is. I think it's at the risk of going extinct, like impending. Like extinction is like lurking around the corner. But I don't think humanity, Homo sapiens, are necessarily doomed there on planet Earth. But civilized culture, definitely doomed. All right, and for those who get just the audio podcast, let me tell you, okay, if you can't see the scrolling text on my ship's interface, currently more than 8 billion humans are being held captive by the culture of maximum conflict and suffering. Civilized culture. It's never been, is not now, and never will be sustainable in any way, shape, or form. And that's the elephant in the room that makes news commentary in the Doomsy McDoomscroller show confusing for Egyptian crocodiles. But look, even if you're in denial, that part's not in the scrolling text. Scrolling text got done with Egyptian crocodiles, and I'm going to add to that even if you're in denial, you're welcome to listen. Because really, there's good news. Doomsy's bringing you good news. Humans are not to blame for the destruction of Earth. It's your culture that's the problem. Civilized culture is to blame. And what is civilized culture? It's not the things you have. It's not the stuff that's around you. Civilized culture is what you do. And y'all wage war versus Earth constantly, and then versus each other whenever you get a chance. That's what you do. That's civilized culture. Is about warmongering, pyramid building, and fostering neo-pharaohs. Civilized culture is about the subjugation of Earth. It's about the subjugation of the world. And that futile, ridiculous attempt at planet conquering requires the subjugation of women. And that's why, in this article here, Ohio woman criminally charged after a miscarriage. Okay, that goes back 12,000 years to the beginning of civilized culture. That woman, she's charged with a crime. Because how dare she? How dare she not reproduce? How dare she? She failed as a vessel, according to civilized culture. That's the underlying fundamental beliefs in your culture and in these zealots, these Abrahamic zealots. How dare she not come through as a vessel for, I don't know, somebody's, some dude's sperm. Yeah, she's a criminal because she's not contributing to what civilized culture is doing and what it does the most, what it tries to do, but it's always working overtime to accomplish, and that is convert as much of the biomass of planet Earth, as much of the general biomass of planet Earth, convert it, transform it specifically into human flesh, and do that as fast as possible. Yeah, that's the subdue, the dominion, right? Rape the earth, have control over it, fruitful multiplication, which really ain't so fruitful, is it? All right, that's the Doomsy McDoomscroller show for January 4th, which is now, I think on some places on Earth, it's January 5th. Anyways, if you want your voice heard, your opinions, questions, comments, complaints, want your voice heard on the Doomsy McDoomscroller show, just go to our website, www.doomsymcdoomscroller.com. Press the button there, and press the button, I think, take you to another page, and there is where you can send us a voice message, and I will play your question, your comment on the air, and I will answer it live. All right, I gotta figure out how to get the pentacork injectors online, or I'm never gonna get out of this star system. Doomsy out.